Welcome back.
Yeah,
Shastar?
just fire away and then we'll open it for questions after you make your statement.
I think just by the insight these guys gave you about the team, as usual, there's a high expectation, but I think also strong feelings about this year, encouraged by what we've seen so far, the players we have, and the goals ahead of us. We feel this as a staff as well. 40th year for the program, and it's an exciting time for U of L athletics, not just the men's soccer program. And for us, it is important this season that we make some gains to push the program into a new light, to reach new levels and for the future of the program and not just the present program. And I think our guys understand that, the responsibility that comes with that. But again, I think they're also very, very encouraged by the group that we have together, that we're still, quite honestly, learning a lot about them, but understand the great potential that this team has.
Coach, talk about the new guys coming in, talking about the transfers. I know Kate said Keno doesn't know a whole lot of English, but how exciting is it for those guys to come in? How do you see them fitting in?
You know, we're still learning a lot about them. What I like most is the type of people they are. When you talk about guys like Keno and Lamine, and Luca, the transfers, and even the young guys, Pedro and William Portman, those are guys that could factor in this season, but most importantly, they're really good team guys. As far as their impact in the season, I think they're going to be impactful. The big question is how much, and we're still learning so much about him. It's clear that Keno's a talented guy. It's clear Lamine is talented. Luca, even Pedro and William Portman. Those guys are talented guys, and we're learning every single day a little bit more about them and how good they can actually be. We're so encouraged by what they've shown so far, but my guess is there's still a lot more out there. But I would go back to, I think the most important thing is that they're good team guys, and they're supportive philosophically. They lay a line up and are hardworking. So I'll give you an indication of it. Preseason just ends, and we finish Evansville, and quite honestly, the exertion count has been very high in preseason. The guys, we pushed them to the limits. And immediately after the game, Keno grabs a bag of balls and ends up hitting another 10 after the game is over because he wasn't satisfied with how the game went. So I think with a lot of these guys, we're probably going to have to pull them back a little bit and say, hey, wait, not right now, because they're driven and good team guys.
When you bring in guys from all over the world, what's that locker room like? How's it as a coach talking with so many different backgrounds?
Well, I think, first of all, and I think these guys alluded to it, culturally, it's awesome that they get to experience that. You know, many times you have to travel to different places around the world to experience different cultures. We're bringing these guys in, and we did that the first day. One of the first things we did is, with the guys we had within the locker room, said, what does everybody need to know here about Tate? And we gave our guys a chance to speak into that. Likewise with the new guys is, what do we need to know about you, and give them an opportunity to hear about their culture, where they're coming from and what that's like. It's so important that our guys understand each other, that they understand what they're about, where they come from, and we promote that. And within the locker room, when you're building relationships, that's such an important part of it. So them to an experience it is great, but I think there's starting points for all of it. I think in the recruiting process, regardless of where they're coming from, the character values, who they are, is massive. And I think we have a good group of guys in the locker room, one of the best I've ever had, and we really enjoy them. Two, they're very passionate and driven about the soccer. And that as well brings people together. It doesn't matter where they're coming from. The common language, they said, well, Keno doesn't speak a whole lot of English. He understands a lot, but what you understand is when he gets on the field, there's a language there that's being spoken. that really you don't have to say a word and they can communicate to each other. The third thing is that they're all in it together. There's a collective unity to what we're doing, and they know what we're pursuing. And again, the passion for the game and the pursuit for achieving goals brings people together, regardless of what the culture and background is.
When you get to the Elite Eight 2 years in a row, like they were talking, it does drive the guys a little extra, does it not, to want to take that next step?
Well, I think there's an immediate reflection on the taste of having some success, but not what you anticipated or wanted or desired. So for a lot of the guys, it's fresh. Fresh in the last 2 years, fresh last year. So that in the mind, that having that experience does drive you to want to do a little bit more. Our expectations haven't changed since I've been here. We expect to be in the Final Four every year. We expect to be competing for national championships. But I think for this group of guys and where we are right now, we have a lot of them that have experienced it. There is a strong drive to want to have more. And again, I've communicated, we've had a lot of conversations about this early, is that there's a responsibility where we are in the program's history for us to move from where we are right now into something greater. That in doing so, what it does is it creates a belief for everybody else that comes after. That coming to the University of Louisville, existing in this program, playing in this culture, there's an opportunity to win national championships. And it's important that we have a group that does that takes that next step, that wins a national championship, that for the history of this program, everybody coming after says, oh, I could see exactly how it can happen for me as well.
Coach, this team went 6-0 on the road last year. You only lost twice in regulation. What needs to change in order to get to that next level?
You know, it's a different team. When you look at the fact that 5 of our starters aren't back, it's a much different team. So I don't want to compare this group too much to last year's. I think they're much like the final at the end of the season, getting to the Elite Eight. There's a lot of guys that there's lessons they take from last year of how important it is to win on the road. How important it is to be good here at home. They understand that. Now the question is, how good of a unit can we become? Because there's a lot of new guys joining us, and how of one mind we can become and how quickly that can happen will determine how fast our rise is. The guys have said it's not going to be a lack of talent for us. It'll be how quickly we become a really good unit.
Now that it's game week, how do you switch the conditioning from summer preparation to game day game?
Yeah, it's I'll get on the soapbox a little bit here, but I think it's very unfair for the student athletes that they only have 10 days to prepare for a season that is intense as it is. I think the NCAA needs to look at it a little bit and provide them better acclimation going into the season. We have about 10 days. Our high-speed running, when you ask our performance guys, our high-speed running increased by at least 30%. Our very high speed increased by 30%. So you have 10 days before, and then these 10 days where it increases that much, it's almost unhealthy for them to increase it at such a rate, but we have no choice because we have such a small period of time to get ready for the season. Mm-hmm. So you ramp it up, and then in this season we got to pull it back a little bit of recovery. These guys are feeling heavy from the preseason. Today was lighter. We're working on more timing, more than anything else, more rhythm stuff. But we'll be ready. The guys will be fresh and prepared and ready to go. And come Friday, they'll be enjoying it and fresh.
Ken, what is the plan with goal with Will and Jake both? And I don't remember last year you kept saying you were comfortable with either one of them in there.
Yeah, we're contemplating how to take care of that because I think they're both, right now, they're both deserving and worthy of starting for us. And we will decide that. Certainly on Friday, we'll decide a starter. Is it that we rotate them each game or give them a certain number of games and allow one of them to ride it as we did last year? But I'm comfortable with both of them. I think both have different qualities that might lend into a certain game, that might, like starting anybody else, that might provide us a better chance to succeed. But I feel good with either one of them in any game that we play that will be successful.
Are there any differences for the guys, for the defense, when one or the other is in there, or is it pretty similar?
Well, again, they have different qualities. I think when you look at Will, his ability in the air, just because of how athletic he is, and his feet being a little bit better playing out at the back. But you know, Jake has the ability to drive a ball, 70 yards, and all of a sudden in one kick, now we're in their end. And Jake's a tremendous shot stopper. You know, he makes himself big, and 1v1 situations he's tough to beat. So it's different qualities. They're both very, very good, but in some areas, some of them have really high-end qualities. So they both communicate well, and I think, like Cody was saying, I think our defenders especially feel comfortable with either one of them. It's good. It's a good problem to have.
What do you expect from Tate? Kind of talk about his career and where he's at as a player.
Well, I've said it all along. I think he's a big game player. In the moments where the games are bigger, he shows up. And I think that helps so much when you're in games at the end of the year, especially in areas where you're trying to do things you've never done, because he's a kid that will end up showing up for us. And that's where I think his greatest leadership qualities come, is in those moments where it's the toughest. He'll show up and lead by example, and we need him in a season like this where we know there's going to be big moments. We need him to lead us in those moments.
Coach Tate and Mo worked very well together up top. How do you see Tate and Keno working together?
It's different. It's going to be much different because Keno's a much different player than Mo. Mo was a guy that would sit in the center of the field. He'll be able to receive balls into him, allow guys to play off, but he didn't wander a whole lot from that. What you'll find from Keno is he'll be much more active by running into spaces more, and he's a handful for defenders that way. And I think because of that mobility, will free up even a little bit more space for Tate and all the attacking guys. And I think that's, again, because Keno is so active, we're trying to find the best way of playing with his qualities because he is so active, and he's gonna be such an awesome player for us over the next 2 years.
Anything else? Coach, you good?
Awesome.
All right.